everyone, it's Kim Vogel with the Basement Bunch Stampers. Today I'm going to showcase for you how I made this pretty little pot of succulent flowers. Isn't that pretty? This is actually going to be a gift from my mom for Mother's Day, so I'm hoping she doesn't watch this video ahead of time. Usually she doesn't, so I think I'm pretty safe. But I'm going to show you how I did all of the sponging for these flowers and talk a little bit about how I put this together. For all of my local customers, this will be a class that I'll be doing in April, so I'll be looking for the details on my class schedule and on my blog as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to start by showing you the dies that I used, or the framelits that I used to cut out the shapes of the flower. So these are the 5 shapes that I used. These shapes come from the Succulent Garden framelits, and I'll bring the rest of the framelits in so you can see the rest of them that come with that. And there's a coordinating stamp set that goes with this these framelits as well. But these are the 5 pieces that I used, and what I did is I cut all 5 of those pieces out. These are the 5 that I cut out that are in the mint macaron, and then I cut 5 out that are in the old olive, and then I cut the same 5 shapes out in the sweet sugar plum. So those are the 3 colors of cardstock that I used for that. And I'm going to actually start by showing you how I inked up the flowers for the mint macaron. So again, these are the 5 different shapes that you're going to have. And what you're going to start with, I actually need to get a piece of scrap paper, so bear with me here as I bring something in. I'm actually going to use the back of a piece of this scrap paper. So what I did, ignore all my sponging. As you can tell, I used this to actually make this. So I'm going to show you with these what I did. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to stamp the ink color onto these are mint macaron, so I'm going to I'm going to sponge the mint macaron ink onto the edges of the leaves. So, and I'm not going to actually take the time to do all of them, but I'll just do a few of them here so you can see. So I sponged up all of those. I am going to actually complete one of these flowers so you can see how it all goes together. So bear with me. Now these you're going to be a little bit more delicate with because these can easily rip. So you need to kind of be a little bit more careful. I find hanging on to these 2 little ones by putting your finger in the middle, it really helps those not bend up on you. So definitely encourage you to kind of keep your finger in the middle on that, because it doesn't take much to rip those little leaves and petals right off there. I'm going to keep on going here. So all you're going to do with the other 2 colors, when you go to do the old olive flower, you're going to also ink the edges with the old olive ink color. And when you sponge up the sweet sugar plum, you're going to ink that up with the sweet sugar plum. So you're going to do whatever color the cardstock is, that is the color you're going to ink on the petals first. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my mint macaron ink out of here, and I'm going to bring in Early Espresso, and then I'm going to ink up with Early Espresso very lightly the edges of all of these petals again, and that's just going to give it a little bit of a darker hue. So kind of brings those petals to life a little bit more. So bear with me as I do all of these. I'm trying to hurry it along so that I'm not occupying too much of your time. I encourage you guys though to make sure you check out all my other videos that I have on YouTube, and that you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the videos that I might be doing in the future. I'm going to start doing more techniques as well. I know most of my customers have mentioned they love my techniques, and so I will try to get a few more techniques out there. Oh, I forgot this one altogether. So we're going to sponge. I have enough ink on this sponge from when I did my mint macaron, so I'm just going to go ahead and get that on there first. So I encourage you to make sure you keep up with me on my website at kimsbasementbunch.com, as well as on my YouTube channel. Okay, so there's all those colors. So that's what I've done so far, is just those 2 colors. And now I'm going to bring in the Rich Razzleberry. And so, and again, on all the other colors, when you do the other 2 colors of flowers, you will also use the Early Espresso. So the only thing that's different on the other 2 colors is the first step. So what you're going to do now is hang on to this, and I actually, let me get the right sponge here. You're just going to hang on to that, and I'm actually just going to sponge the edges of those flowers. See how it just adds a little bit of purple to that? Look how pretty that is. and that really brings these flowers to life. So succulents are not flowers that we have. I'm from Michigan, if you're watching my video and you live long distance. They're not something that we have here. They're found more in the desert. So they're beautiful, but just not flowers that we have here. So it's kind of nice to be able to make them and make them look like they're real. Okay, so again, I'm going to try to hurry this along so that I'm not going to take up too much of your time while I do this. But I think it's important for you guys to see how I do one complete flower from start to finish. That way you'll have an idea of the different steps. And again, I find hanging on to the center of the flowers and just kind of turning it helps those petals not to bend up too much. So again, just adding ink to the very edges of all of those. And then my last one here. This little guy is one that you got to be really careful with. I have ripped a couple of those out and had to start over again. So I kind of got a good grip on that right in the center so that I don't rip that. Okay, so those are the 5 different petals or parts of the flower that I have all sponged up. Then you're going to take your bone folder, and what you're going to do is you're going to, let me pull the scrap paper out of here. We don't need that anymore. So what I'm going to do is on the opposite side, you're going to just kind of take your bone folder and curl these edges just a little bit. You don't need to do it anything too much, because you'll see the next step is where you really get the curvature going on the next step of the flowers. So you can kind of see, let me bring my mat in here because I need this in a minute. So you can kind of see that that's just edged up a little bit. My mat is well used. You can tell it's got lots of ink on it. So again, I'm just going to do this on all these different flowers, and all I'm doing is curling those edges just a little bit. And I'm not the best curler, so you don't have to be perfect for this part. You're just kind of getting a little bit of a curl to them. The little one, again, you got to be very, very careful with. I'm hanging on to it. You can kind of see really tight, and I'm just barely curling those edges because I don't want to rip it. Doesn't take much to curl it, but it doesn't take much to rip it either. So you want to be really careful with that. 2 left, so bear with me. And when you're sponging these flowers, you know, I did a bunch of them at once. It probably took me about an hour. I've got 1, 2, 3, I got 6 of these flowers in my pot that I showed you earlier. And I would say it probably took me maybe about an hour to sponge them all. So that's not too bad, and cut them out. So, and I cut these out in advance to save a little bit of time. So there's the 5 different sizes of the flower. And then what I did is I took the opposite end of my my piercer, paper piercer, and what I did is I went right in the center, and I just kind of twirled this around, and you're just breaking up the fibers a little bit of that paper, but look how it gives you a nice little cup to that. Isn't that cool? And I did that on all of these different layers. I just twirled it till it starts to kind of cup up, like a little teacup kind of. So that's why it's not too critical that you take the time to really do a lot of the curling with the bone folder, because this little technique, and you do have to use a mat to get this to work. You need some kind of a soft surface underneath, or this technique is not going to work for you. Now this one takes a little bit longer to do because you got a bigger surface, but it will start to work. You just kind of let it curl on its own as you're going. Look at that, isn't that cool? And it's okay if the center gets kind of funny looking from you doing that, because you're going to be gluing this all together, and so no one's going to really see the center anyway. So then I'm going to bring in my liquid glue, and I'm using our multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue in the center here. Maybe. There it comes. I thought you'd have to go get another one. And then you're just going to start layering these, and I'm kind of alternating where that's going to go so that you cover up the previous, you know, in between each layer. And then I'm going to put a little bit more glue. And as you can tell, I had too much on that one. You don't need that much. And again, I'm going to layer that one in there. Look how pretty that is. And I'm going to keep on going. Either I get a lot of glue or I don't get enough. That one I got a little too much. Look how pretty. Then my final one right in the middle, I'm just going to put a dab of glue because I got a little bit too much from the previous one there. And there you have a very pretty succulent flower. I'm going to set that down so it can dry. Isn't that absolutely stunning and gorgeous? So that is what I did for all 3 of the colors in my project today. This is the same one that I just did for all of you. So you can see there's another version of that one. And then this is what it looks like. This one I actually curled the opposite way. I curled the petals down. So I had one that just looked a little bit different. But then I just, on these littler ones, so these 3 big ones I made with all 5 layers of the petals. But these littler ones right here, I did not use the big one. I just used the littler one inward, so to make them a little bit smaller. So if you're probably wondering where I got my pot, I get a lot of my stuff from Amazon. So I got this pot from Amazon, but you could get it from, with the time of season and all the gardening going on pretty soon, you could easily find your own terracotta pots from your local store. And then I found the moss also on Amazon, but you could also find the moss on pretty much anywhere that they sell gardening stuff. So what I did is I put in the bottom of this a little bit of foam, the green foam you can get for when you do crafting or when you do floral arrangements. I hot glued some of this moss into it on top of it, and then I just hot glued the flowers onto the moss. And that is all that I did to make this cute little flower pot. And I'm planning to make a couple more because I think they're kind of cute and give them to some friends and maybe to my mother-in-law as well. So I hope you enjoyed learning how I made these succulents and how they kind of come to life when you do the sponging on them. I encourage you again to check out my website at kimsbasementbunch.com for all the details on this and to see other classes that I'll be offering over the next few weeks. Thanks for stopping by today and have a great day.